There we go.
Yay!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line presented by Offside News. My name is Emma, and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host, Marcie.
Hello.
Hello. I feel so weird. So I have a new notebook. Um,
Who is
if
she?
long-time listeners to the show would know that I handwrite all of my notes for the podcast in a notebook. And I've had the same. I started a brand new notebook when we started the podcast. Specifically, I was like, this is just for podcasts. And it then became like some offside notes in there as well for articles and stuff. Um, After a year and a half,
She's done it.
nearly 2 full
She's
seasons of
only
the
gone and done
NHL,
it.
the original notebook, which was a lovely lavender one, has been finished. It is full. I've used every page. There are a lot of notes in here. It is completed. I've now started a new one just in time for the playoffs.
It's
Um,
crazy.
she's a lovely teal. So that is not at all news in any way, shape, or form related to hockey. But for those who are notebook tracking, because I feel like people find it really interesting, where I'm like, yeah, I have a notebook that has every notes on every Leaf game in the past two-ish seasons, because our first year of the podcast, we didn't do a full season. We started in mid-November, but
Still most of the season.
yeah. So she starts here we go. But I guess we'll jump right into talking about the Leafs, and we'll talk about Battle of Ontario, which I think arguably is probably the most watched in terms of people who aren't Leafs or Sens fans are paying attention to this series.
Oh yeah.
The most out of any other team, any other series, except for maybe Edmonton and LA, but that's only because they've played each other now 3 times, and this is their fourth time in the first round meeting. So they're like, ooh, will this time be different? But other than that, I feel like this is not even the Battle of Florida, not even Tampa and Florida will I feel like come close to this in
That's just
terms
like
of
a rat off.
well, no, but I think also as well, it's just this is bigger. And this,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think because we got a Battle of Florida last year in the first round. And this year it's it's Battle of Ontario.
Yeah.
And the Sens, it's the first time in the playoffs in so long. And we'll talk about that in a little bit later because it plays into my points. But yes, Battle of Ontario, Toronto versus Ottawa, game one. I was at the tailgate for
You
this.
were.
I was outside of Scotiabank Arena for this game. My parents did I did get a text from my mom just before puck drop being like, we saw you on TV. So
Oh my god, you're famous.
but shout out to Jackie who had an extra ticket and was like, hey, you want to come down with me? And I was like, yeah, hell yeah.
Yep.
And so the two of us went down and it was very, very fun. We had a great time. But yeah, so I was there.
Yeah,
It was
you
fun.
were.
They had a bunch of stuff going on before the game started. They had Darcy Tucker and Doug Gilmore come out on the stage that they have. And I was like, oh, look at those two old men.
That is two old men.
But then also they had some Marlies, like Jacob Quillen, Cade Weber, Robert Mastroni, the one with the really Italian last name, and Marshall Rafai on the stage to throw t-shirts and be like, hey, come see us in the playoffs. We're also in the playoffs.
Huge day for the Mollies.
Huge day for the Marlies. Huge day for me, who I was like, wait a minute, I know those guys.
I know you.
I saw your NHL debut, Jacob Quillen.
Yeah, you
I
did.
have a video of your rookie lap if you want it. Do you?
Email the podcast.
Email the podcast. I can send it. I never posted. I don't think I ever. No, I think I did post the rookie lap on Twitter. I can't remember. I think I did. I definitely did. But yeah, speaking of the Senators, it was Linus Ullmark versus Anthony Stolarz as the starters for game one, which is no surprise or shock to anyone, I don't think. The one surprise for me personally, as someone who has been paying attention to the Ottawa Senators all season, because I cover them for Offside News, is that there was no Nick Cousins in the lineup for Ottawa. Instead, on the fourth line was Matthew Highmore. Now, this is interesting because their their full practice that they had, like they had a morning skate the day of the game, and that's kind of when the lineup news came out that Nick Cousins was not going to be in the lineup for game one. But they had a full practice the day before in which Nick Cousins was on the fourth line for Ottawa. So it is interesting. But yeah, no Nick Cousins, which I find interesting because that Sens fans know Nick Cousins well. He scored the goal that eliminated the Leafs in 2023 in Game 5 in the second round against Florida. So like, yeah.
Yeah.
And also as well, he is annoying. And this season had a knee-on-knee hit against Jacob Quillen. And thus Cousins got the worst of it and ended up injuring his knee to the point that he had to have surgery and only played, I think, one game before the end of the season in his return to the ice. So that could be it. I'm just surprised that like Travis Green didn't go with the guy that's going to like piss off the other team because that's who Nick Cousins is. But yeah, for the Leafs in terms of lineup, the same. I don't
Classic.
like. We saw this playoff lineup for the past like 3 games. Well, except for in the blue line, like, but like it was the lineup that everyone thought it was going to be. And there was a little bit of some trading chances here, there, back and forth. And you know, before the game, Jackie and I were talking. We were like, "Oh, who do you think is going to score the first goal of the game on both sides? Who do you think is going to score first?" My pick was Matthew Knies. Okay. I was like, this Matthew Knies is a guy who plays like he's built for the playoffs. He plays that net front, like going into the corners, going into the dirty areas. I was like, it's going to be Matthew Knies. It was not Matthew Knies. I don't know who your pick was to score first.
I'm not going to lie. I don't even think I had.
I don't think anyone who had a pick to score first did not have Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Yeah.
That is the point that I'm getting to.
Was not him.
Yeah. The fourth line, Toronto's fourth line, which very much is like is the line for you that's going to probably going to do the most defensive zone starts in this series, or one of, outside of like Marner and Matthews, who are probably, you know what I mean, they're incredibly defensive power.
Yeah.
Like Matthews is a Selke nominated player. Mitch Marner, I'm surprised has yet to be nominated for the Selke. He probably should be. Considering like he does quite literally has played multiple times on defense, like shifts. But yeah, like outside of that top line, like I think your fourth line, like the Leafs' fourth line, is probably going to be the line that is taking most of those defensive zone starts, and it's the line of Lawton, Lorentz, and Calle Yarncroke, and they get one going with a turnover in the neutral zone, in kind of top of the Leaf zone, almost in the neutral zone, and they get it going the other way. And how Oliver Ekman-Larsson was left open the way he was in the high slot, I will never know.
But can they please do it again?
But Ottawa, man, you gotta like, and he just takes the shot, and it beats Allmark. I don't think there was really that much of a screen in front either. Like that's the thing, is there maybe was a couple of moving bodies in front, but like so much of even the Leafs and the Sens were getting pushed to the outside because that's where like the zone entry was from Nick Robertson and Bobby McMahon. I'm thinking of a different goal. Sorry. That was where the zone entry. I'm skipping ahead to the Morgan Riley goal. I'm sorry. That's on me. But specifically, it was still like the zone entry was along the outside by Calle Yarncroke and Scott Lawton. I am saying the right names now. I have the notes here with their names in it. But Calle Yarncroke. But yeah, they are that line that's going to grind away, and they did, and they have the ability because yes, those are players who can play a very strong defensive game, but
Mhm.
they also have the skill level to create chances on mistakes made by the opposition.
Mhm.
Um, like they're still a very high skill line in that way, and that's exactly what they did. Ottawa made a mistake, Toronto capitalized, and Linus Ullmark didn't have the
Mhm.
save. I'd argue this is probably one of the ones that he should have had. There was a couple of them where I'm like, yeah, like who's gonna make that save?
Mhm.
But then there was quite a few of these goals where you're like, you
It's the
should have
playoff,
had.
man.
It's the playoffs, and you should have that.
You gotta be
You
on
sh
it.
you should have that save there. But yeah, further into the first period, um, Matthews with the knockdown of the puck with his hand, and then the long pass to Marner, who was floating in around center ice. And that pass and that connection between those two comes with years of playing with each other
Mm.
and knowing each other on the ice as well as those two do. And it was a good read by Matthews to see Marner out and open out there at center ice. And it was a good read by Marner to get himself into a position where he could collect that puck and go. And that's exactly what Marner did. He took off on the breakaway, bar down. You could hear it.
It
You could
was
hear it hit the
beautiful.
bar down to give the Leafs a 2-0 lead. Again, you
Life is good.
it's the playoffs. You shouldn't be letting players beat you on the breakaway like that. I know like that's gonna happen, but like
Mm.
and you could tell just by the celly by Marner, like he's in it now. It's like this is the playoffs,
Yeah.
like the building's buzzing, outside at the tailgate's buzzing. I'm sure the
Oh.
guys are buzzing. But unfortunately, the Leafs could not get to first intermission without these Ottawa Senators taking a little bit of making a little bit of damage against them. They get the Auto, and this is where it was like two of those goals where it's like allowing Ottawa to get the third rebound in front of the net is going has was leading Ottawa to capitalizing on scoring chances and allowing them to get the puck
Mm.
in. And I think that's just got to be something that's got to get cleaned up, before game two, because
Yeah.
Ottawa's going to do that. Is they play a game that has such a high volley of shots, whether those
Mm.
be from the distance, they're usually from around the outside or from a distance and not really high danger shots as per se. But then they weren't really doing it in this game, but a lot of times they'll go in and then, be in front of the net and try to get those second or third chances.
Mm.
Um, and that's exactly what happened here. They got the third rebound on a missed puck by Stolarz. He just kind of dropped it and allowed Drake Batherson to capitalize, making it a 2 2-1 game. And that's where the score would stand going into first intermission after one.
Yes.
Notably, however, between these two teams, there was no penalties in the first period, but the shots were 13-5 for Ottawa. But the high danger scoring chances. Now there's a visual to this that was put out by Dom from The Athletic, which I'm sure probably has made the rounds if you are a fan of either of these two teams. You've seen this, but it's comparing scoring chances that Ottawa had and scoring chances that the Leafs had. And the Leafs just had more of those high danger chances. And that's
Mm.
kind of like compared to Ottawa. And that's kind of like going like, yeah, Ottawa can get like a high flurry of shots on net against the opposition, but like Toronto all season has been shooting less, but their shots, they've been high danger shots. They've been shots that are um that are going to be a little bit more dangerous.
Mm.
They're shots from the slot, they're shots from in around close to the net, and then they're there net front to bang and
Yeah.
crash those second or third chances in. And that's kind of the way that Toronto's been playing all season. Um, and into the second period we go, and Ottawa plays their game. And I have written here that Ottawa plays their game negative because they start taking dumb penalties. Um,
Yeah.
Ottawa's a very physical team. They're a very fast team. They're a team that's really chippy, that goes in, that likes the extracurriculars, which is fair, and you can have that. And it's important to the physical. Sorry, I have the Caps game on, like the Caps Habs game on right now, and I just saw a replay of Mangiapane punching Lane Hudson in the face. Like full gloved fist, just right into the face of Lane
Oh,
Hudson.
I love hockey.
And somehow the Caps get a power play out of this.
Sure.
There was a scrum afterwards, but yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I should not interrupt because I feel like if I start the interruptions about the game, that about watching the Habs and Caps game at the same time as doing this record, like we'd end up like that one game, that one podcast that we had Randy on, where it was also at the same time of the Flyers game, and I was like, this podcast is best watched in tandem with said game.
Yes.
Because like for half, like we get interrupted halfway through, we start talking about Joel Farabee fighting Connor Dewar.
Oh, what a time! Oh, I miss Connor Dewar.
I'm sure you do.
I'm not emotionally stable enough for this right now.
Okay, then we'll talk about this. So the primary, a lot of the penalties that Ottawa was taking was cross checks, which like those are in the playoffs especially. Cross checks are probably the easiest calls for refs to make. There's no borderline. I'm like, dude doesn't have possession of the puck, and you come by and you just cross check a guy in the numbers. Yeah, refs are gonna call that all day, every day, even in the playoffs. And it's like you get called for those in the regular season. I know you do. I watch your games. And maybe it doesn't matter as much in the regular season because, you know, sometimes you're doing it against lower competition. Sometimes you're just doing it against a team that's already down guy. Like Toronto's fielding their best lineup against you. They're fielding their best team, and you're giving them the opportunity to capitalize on their ability to score on the power play by like just coming by. And it was the first one. It was specifically the Ridley Gregg one that went high on John Tavares, where I'm like, you can't argue that that's not a penalty.
Yeah.
That's going to get called. You can't do that. That's against the rules. You still have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
And I think then it kind of plays into Ottawa's playoff immaturity. I don't want to call them an immature team because it is a younger team there, but there's still veterans there and there's still a level of maturity, yes. But I'll call it playoff immaturity, playoff inexperience, where it's like you want to go in and you want to be like, okay, this is the playoffs. We gotta go, like blah blah blah. But Toronto has been here enough times to know to just, hey, if a guy comes by and cross checks you, you take it because then it's going to get called. Like, that's not diving. If you just stand there and take the cross check to the back of the numbers, like Austin Matthews did on a call, that's just called. That's just taking.
Not, it's just happened. It's been cross checked.
If you get cross checked and then you go back at the guy, then you're not going to get the call because you did something back. But if you just stand there and take the cross check, you're going to then get the call. You don't even. It's not diving. It's getting the call. It's being
cross-checked.
It's being cross-checked. And it's what the Leafs have had thrown in their face year after year. Again, it happened. Washington, that was a team that came into that series in Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner's first season with the Leafs in 2016, 2017. Sorry, Ovechkin just scored to open the scoring on the power play. Shocker!
Found in kitchen.
Alex Ovechkin scoring on the power play? Ooh, wow. Wow. No way! I wonder where it was from. I wonder where it was from on the ice.
Oh, I just
stick up at the left face-off circle.
Oh, how do people keep letting this happen?
That's exactly where it was from.
Oh.
Oh, assists from Dylan Strome and Tom Wilson too.
Oh, I'm
wow.
Sure. I'm sure. Oh, dear me. Love you, Dylan. But, yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, but yeah, and I'm sorry, but like speaking of the Washington Capitals, sorry, but Washington Capitals that year came into that series with a lot of experience,
Mm.
right? In terms of just they had been making the playoffs year after year after year and not winning because they would face Pittsburgh. Um, but yeah, but yeah, and then it was like Boston, the same thing. It was Columbus, arguably less so, I'd say, but that was different.
Mm.
Boston again, like Montreal, Boston again. Like, I'm sorry, we've seen this. Tampa, when Tampa came, when the Leafs were playing Tampa, when Leafs would play like, I'm sorry, and now the Leafs are finally have the experience to know, like,
Mm.
hey, this is what it takes, or this is what you have to do, is you can't let yourself get dragged into that stuff after the
Yeah.
whistle. Whereas the Sens don't, they don't know.
No.
Or or at least like I they have like five guys on that roster who have playoff experience, and like two of
Mm.
them are Matthew Highmore and Adam Gaudette, who have one playoff, like one season worth of experience with
Mm.
the Vancouver Canucks in the bubble. So they
Yeah.
don't
So.
know what it's like to like play in a building with a crowd, and that how much that like affects emotions and things like that. But like the other guys that you have is like Michael Madio, David Perron, Claude Giroux, and like Linus Ullmark, and like Nick Jensen. That's like it.
Yeah.
It's a very inexperienced team when it comes to the playoffs, and I'm not saying that's necessarily like what makes them worse. I'm just saying that that can play into how your team is going to react to certain
Mm.
situations. Um, but yeah, the penalties led to the Leafs capitalizing on the power play. Both of them here that I have written down. Tavares with a quick one off the draw. A lot of them came the one like when the Leafs were able to score on the power play, it was a lot of them really quick off that opening draw off the power play
Mm.
because it didn't really allow Ottawa to like the Leafs could play with a little bit. They weren't running the cycle. It was allowing them to play a little bit more
Mm.
dynamically, which is what they're good at. A little bit more
Yeah.
creativity, but they still had that structure of a playoff structure of a power play, and it didn't allow the Sens to get set in their coverage. They still were trying to readjust after the face off, after the draw, and find their position, find their guy that they're going to cover, things like that. And Tavares with a quick one off the draw. It was a pass. It was a shot from Nylander that Tavares tipped. Then Tavares got his own rebound off the tip and was able to take a shot from right in around the slot, short slot area. Put the Leafs up 3-1. That was off of a Ridley grade cross check on John Tavares that went high. That was that was first called for 5 and then was reviewed because you can review 5-minute majors, and was reduced to a
Mm.
2. Now, do I personally believe that should have been a 5? Perhaps. Is it
Mm.
maybe a little bit of Leaf biases in there that I'm saying with that? Also, yes. But do I
Yeah.
think that there was head contact on that cross check? Absolutely, there
Yeah.
was.
Very much so.
They showed multiple angles of that.
Mm. Every angle, there was in fact head contact.
Yeah.
Shocker. But, but what do I know?
Yeah. And then there was another power play opportunity. This one was again like a compounding of the Sens. I don't want to say not reacting appropriately, but like you, I'm sorry, it's really dumb of you in the playoffs to be allowing a team to get a 5-on-3,
Yeah.
especially when that 5-on-3 is for 44 seconds.
It's just stupid.
Like, you can't, like, this is, man, I still have to write, like, a Sens recap for offsides, and I'm so afraid that, like, 90% of it is me going, like, the Sens were so stupid
Why
for
are you
taking these
doing this?
penalties. You can't be taking these types of penalties in the playoffs because it's only going to not
Mm.
be good. Like, it's only going to come back and bite you. And maybe in game 2, we'll see something totally different. We'll see a more disciplined team. But, like, also, like, are we going to? Is that message, I'm sure which Travis Green is saying, is that going to work? Is that actually going to work? Because the Leafs, like, I don't see them then reverting to play more undisciplined. I think
No.
they've found their game and they are so solid and steady in it, and they're ready and they're tuned into the playoffs where in terms of playing their game, whereas like the Sens are like, oh, we gotta like they're just scattered and they're frazzled about it. And it showed in this game. But yeah, so Nylander gets one, gets a pass off the one draw. John Tavares wins the draw. Wow, shocker. But Nylander gets the one off the one draw and gets the shot from the high slot, in which it's a 5-on-3. William Nylander's open and can just has all the time and space that he wants on the power play to take a shot at Linus Ullmark, and he does, and it goes in, and
And
the
it's
Leafs are up 4-1.
beautiful.
Yeah, both of these like happened, I think, within like 15-20 seconds of the power play, like the start of the
Yeah.
power play. They were that first opening draw of the power play that these
Mm.
both came off of, which I think is huge in terms of the fact of like the Leafs then weren't really able to score a lot on on like deeper into the power play. So I think it's important for them
Mm.
to get these chances early on because it seems to be working for them. Um, but yeah, and then in the very similar way to the first one, like both of the Senators' goals were scored in very similar ways, and that was just
Mm.
Ridley Grigg gets one for Ottawa off of it was a delayed penalty, and you could see as soon as the delayed penalty called, like the Leafs kind of just took a little bit of a step back, which I don't think they should have, but you could see it.
Mm.
But yeah, another goal for Ottawa again off of the second, third rebound chance, which again, you don't want them to be able to score. You don't want to give them that opportunity.
No.
So that could come from just Anthony Stolarz like having the puck, like making sure he's covering it on those rebound chances and not like even just taking the zone face off to avoid the rebound or to avoid that loose puck, or it's up to the guy like the
Mm.
Leafs in front of the net to just do a better job of clearing those pucks. But um yeah, I'm now realizing I think at this point now this really great goal I should say was in the third period. I realized I didn't put anything to say like, oh, end of the second. Um
We're now in the third period.
yes, we are in the third period. But yes, and then Morgan Riley scores. This
Oh,
is the one
Morgan.
where I was like, this was a zone entry built on the back of Bobby McMahon and Nick Robertson. Where Nick Robertson, who has wheels, by the way, little guy can move. I felt like a dad coaching their kid and like 10 bits, yelling, "Wheels, Nicky, wheels," every time he would get going with the puck.
Oh dear.
Watching a hockey game with me is an experience. I start calling players by their first government names.
I love it.
Um, but yeah, and this sets up a wide open Morgan Riley at the point. Again, he's wide open. Sens once again get caught puck watching
Mm.
and just rifles one. There was it got a little bit of a tip from Matthew Highmore, who was trying to punch it down or something with his stick, and it just ends up that changed the angle just enough in order to beat Linus Ullmark. Um, yeah, and then there was another power play for the Leafs because the
Shocker.
Sens took which penalty was this? Was this like the Dylan Cousins 10-minute misconduct? Sorry, that one where he cross-checked Oh, who did he cross-check so hard? Was it Matthews that Dylan Cousin cross-checked so hard that it broke his stick? And then everyone's like, why is that a penalty? I'm like, well, because he cross-checked the guy so hard when he didn't have the puck, it broke his stick.
Like, what do you mean, why is that a penalty?
So, like, I'm sorry,
Be so, like, serious.
Which penalty was this? This was, yeah, oh yes, this was the Dylan Cousins misconduct. And then also Drake Batherson had a cross-checking 2-minute minor for cross-checking again against Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Now, this one I think was one of the ones that people were arguing was maybe a dive by Oliver Ekman-Larsson. In which, because in the replay, like, you can see him go down and his hands immediately go above his heads, but that's if you look like higher up in the frame. There's this Ottawa Senator with the puck who's in the position to take a shot on net. And I don't know about you guys, but like the prospect of like being down on the ice after being cross-checked and like seeing a guy who has possession of the puck and like could take a shot, I too would also cover my head to avoid getting beamed in the head by a rubber puck going like 80 miles an hour. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I would have.
Because you can see as soon as the senator like makes the pass, Oliver Ekman-Larsson like is like, oh wait, I'm not gonna die
Like,
because I'm not gonna. He's like, as soon as he sees the like as soon as this Ottawa Senator makes the pass, who has possession, he's like, okay, I'm not gonna get reamed in the face if I stand up now.
Yeah.
Like, God forbid a guy just doesn't want to get hit by the puck.
It's crazy.
But yeah, but on that power play, again, this one is like within 10 seconds of the start of the power play. Like the power play was at 13:05 in the third period, and Matthew Nyes scored at 13:13. That is 8 seconds into the power play.
It's just beautiful. It's beautiful.
It's another one. Matthew Nyes does what he does best, drives the net, is big and in front. Rebound comes off Ullmark's pads, and Matthew Nyes has nothing but open net to shoot at to put it home, to put the Leafs up 6-2. And then then the scoring kind of goes away. If you look at some more like advanced stats, like if you're on like natural stat trick or something, you're looking at advanced stats, like Ottawa kind of gets back into this game more at 5-on-5, but like the Leafs do a good job in terms of preventing those chances. Like then they play a more defensive game. And I think some of that I'd have to maybe go back and like watch clips and stuff. I'm like, if some of that is just like Toronto being like, okay, we're up 4 in game 1. Let's just play a defensive game. Like, let's not worry necessarily about like our puck possession, but in terms of just reducing chances for Ottawa, because they did do that. Ottawa doesn't score anymore in the rest of this game. So it obviously worked. And it did get chippy at the end of the game. And it's like Toronto did a really good job of not falling victim, like not, I don't want to say falling victim, but not like playing into or not, falling for being a participant in those extracurriculars and the post whistle scrums and things like that. Like they didn't really do any of that.
Yeah.
They just sort of like, they just sort of let it happen and sort of ignored it. But then once they were up 4 and there was like 5-6 minutes left in the game, they were like, all right, ready?
Now we can
okay, our turn. Not even that. I think it was more than that. I'm looking back at this like list of penalties that's here. Oh no, it's all within the last like 45 seconds of the game. There's more of that. I want to read off this list because I love it. 1916 in the third period. Nick Robertson, 2-minute minor for roughing against Matthew Highmore. Adam Gaudette, 2-minute minor for roughing against Max Domi. Michael Amadio, 2-minute minor for roughing against Bobby McMahon. Max Domi, 2-minute minor for roughing against Adam Gaudette. Simon Benoit, 2-minute minor for roughing against Matthew Highmore. Matthew Highmore, 2-minute minor for roughing against Simon Benoit. Bobby McMahon, 2-minute minor for roughing against Nicholas Montepallo. Nicholas Montepallo, 2-minute minor for roughing against Bobby McMahon. Brandon Carlo, 2-minute minor for roughing against Tyler Clevin. Tyler Clevin, 2-minute minor for roughing against Brandon Carlo. Matthew Highmore, 2-minute minor for roughing against Nick Robertson. Nick Robertson, 2-minute minor for high sticking against Nicholas Montepallo. And Nick Jensen, 2-minute minor for roughing against Pontus Holmberg.
I
That
love this
last one
team.
was right at the whistle. That's right at the end of the game. Like the
Mm.
whistle went and there was another scrum at the end of the whistle, but that one with 43 seconds left, like that was the Leafs going, oh, okay, you're going to take your pound of flesh because you're down by 4. Okay, well, we're up by 4. There's 46 seconds or 43
Mm.
seconds left. You're not going to score 4 goals. Let's go then. All
Yeah.
right,
It's
we're
like if
gonna
that's how you want to play.
if that's how you want to play, we'll shove back, right? Like
Mm.
we're also capable of taking our own pound of flesh. We just didn't have to because we scored 6 goals and you did not.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the end of the game. Game 2 is tomorrow in Toronto. Um, I do not believe the Leafs are going to make any changes. I mean, today at practice there was a real little shuffle. Pontus Holmberg up to the second line, Max Domi back to third line center, which like okay, whatever. I don't think
Okay.
there's going to be any other main changes when it comes to
Mm.
like deep pairings. I mean, I
No.
think there was like a little bit of a shuffle near the end. I don't know. Um, Matthew Nyes ended up playing the most time out of like he had the most time on ice that night with like what 22 minutes,
Good idea.
like which I don't know where that came from because I he's not on the penalty kill. He's
No.
only just on the power play. Is the only like he's on the right and like Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. I'd have to like look to see if like how I'd have to look at that lovely shift chart that's on NHL.com, our like favorite
Mm.
little tool that I love
Oh,
looking at.
love it.
But yeah, no, it's like more than Marner by like a
That's
full minute and
crazy.
a half, and more than Matthews by like almost 4 minutes.
That's wild.
I will say there was not a guy under 11 minutes. That is Nick Robertson, who was right at 11 minutes.
Mm.
Like that third line and was that third like it's listed as a third line, but it looks I'm looking at just like time on ice. I think it was utilized more as a fourth line. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think those bottom 2 lines, they're not really
They
a
do a
third or
lot of
fourth
like,
line. It's more of like in which situations do you want to
yeah.
use them kind of thing. They just have deployment situations. But
Mm.
yeah. Anthony Slorso, in case you're wondering, had a save percentage of 939.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Things we love to see.
fantastic stuff there. But yeah, so moving on to some things around the rest of the league, some check-ins with some other series. St. Louis versus Winnipeg. Winnipeg wins game 1 after coming back with 3 goals scored in the third period to win 5-3. They currently are playing game 2 right now against the St. Louis Blues. So we will see. For Dallas Stars and Colorado Avalanche, it was a slow start in the game with the first goal of the game only being scored halfway through the second period. But then Colorado really took over and went on to win 5-1. I have written down here, you can see the weakness that Dallas has in their lineup without Jason Robertson and Miro Heiskanen, who
Mm.
Miro Heiskanen, I think, is confirmed now to not be playing at all in round 1. Nick Robertson was last. There's not really, he's week to week, but he was seen in a full ankle to like mid thigh knee brace,
Oof.
like one of those big ones.
Oh
I
no, not my knee hurts.
and I don't believe it was like when we were tracking like Patrick Laine's knee brace, where I was like, guys, it's articulating. That means like a good thing.
Mm.
I think it is a full. like stability. Like he is not bending his knee brace. But yeah, Gabriel, also to note of that series as well, Gabriel Landeskog was activated off LTIR prior to
Yay.
game 2. So we will see if he will play. Ross Colton left the game 1 with a lower body injury, so we will see if who knows. It could just be in preparation. I think a lot of people have been saying the expectation is for Landeskog to start game 3 as his return to the Avalanche. He did play 2 games with the Colorado Eagles in a conditioning stint as he returns from. I don't even fully understand what this surgery was. I think it's like replacing the cartilage in his knee or something.
So much knee talk.
I know we're talking so much about knees.
I'm
I'm
in pain.
sorry.
I'm having to just like rest my hand on my knee.
I know. In terms of New Jersey versus Carolina Hurricanes, I have Keefe gets out coached by Rod Brindamore in my notes.
Yep.
I didn't watch this game because I was too busy packing and moving out of my university apartment.
Yeah.
And the game was like a 3 p.m. game. So like there's
You've
no
got
video for this
priorities.
episode. But I am back in my parents' house.
Yes.
I'm no longer living in Ottawa, so I keep joking though. It's like I literally moved out Saturday. I like left Ottawa on Saturday and moved out of my apartment. And I keep joking because like Battle of Ontario started Sunday. I was like, I was on the last chopper out of Nam. Getting out of like Ottawa before that playoff series like started.
You're like, shit, I gotta get out.
Let's go. Get me out of here. Start the car. But yeah, like I even said in our series preview that we put in that was in our last episode that I was like, Sheldon Keefe cannot coach in the playoffs. Sheldon Keefe will get out coached by Rod Brindamore, and he did. Also, as well, just New Jersey is not a match for Carolina. A standout performance, though, is that it was a 2-goal game for Stankoven. So good for Logan. I blanked on his first name for a second.
Oh dear.
But yeah, and then the other series that has started is Minnesota and Vegas. I have a firm belief in the Minnesota Wild. I believe in them.
I believe in them too.
I believe in a healthy Minnesota Wild. It also was a closer game than like those than like I even like it was a 2-goal win for Vegas. It was like one of those goals was a empty netter on the power play that literally was scored in the last second of the game. I kid you not. Like right at the end. And I think it's going to be a lot closer of a series for those who don't know Minnesota, or at least haven't seen much of a healthy Minnesota Wild probably expected. Like Minnesota, when they are fully healthy, is an insane team. Yeah. And they are going to be riding on the backs of Kirill Kaprizov and Brock Faber playing 28 minutes a night.
Brock Faber!
Friend of the show, we've never had him on. We want him on.
So bad. What's a queen out with Brock Faber?
But yeah, there are 4 games slated for tonight, which is Monday, which I feel like most people when they're listening to it will not be Monday anymore. But those 4 games being currently that's going on right now is the Montreal Canadiens and the Washington Capitals, St. Louis Blues and the Winnipeg Jets, Colorado and Avalanche, and the Edmonton Oilers and the Los Angeles Kings. That is the first round series in the West that I am the most excited about, I think, to watch. I'm like, will I stay up to watch many of those games? Probably not.
Nope.
Sorry. But yeah. That's our playoff check-in. In terms of news around the league, I have 3 NHL coaches getting fired, and we have to discuss them all getting fired in one episode. Can you stop firing your coaches, please? Like, please. I'm remembering that stat that we had that was like, the percentage of episodes in which we talked about a coach getting fired was like better than the Leafs like playoff
Yes.
power play percentage last year. Do you know how
Yeah.
ridiculous that is?
Oh.
And we're doing it again. So here's three. I'm just gonna rapid fire up the first two. The New York Rangers fired Peter Laviolette. Um, and what I have to say about this. I kind of started ignoring the New York Rangers about like 2 months into the season
Yeah.
this year. Um, they had a
Yeah.
tough season. Do I think that firing Peter Laviolette will change the deeply evil is a mean thing to say about an NHL franchise, but the deeply evil energy that's enrooted within MSG, not even the building, within like the business?
Mm.
No, I don't think so. We didn't talk about it last episode because I was like, I feel like everyone knows the news and it's not on our space to speculate or
Mm.
discuss this, but there was news. It was news that came out via Katie Strang article in The Athletic that Artemi Panarin in 2023 in December sexually assaulted a New York Rangers employee, like a team staff member, which is not okay and is very bad
No.
and is one of those things where it's like we could, because it what was that news dropped the day or the day before we ended up recording that
Mm.
episode, because it was recorded on a Friday, went up on a Saturday. We recorded that episode, and I know as someone who is a fan of hockey and also wants to work in sports, I would have just gotten mad. It would have been me being mad for 20 minutes,
Mm.
and it would not have been productive at all.
No.
So I elected to take some time, and here we are stating the facts, and that was what happened. Also, just like, sorry, there was a Calvin DeHaan tweet that came out, that quote that came out that like painted the Rangers in a very negative light. There was like, there's been quotes throughout the season from Capo Caco following his trade to the Seattle Kraken that paints the New York Rangers in a very negative light. And I think it's one of those things that's so deeply it's not like, I don't think firing the head coach will fix that. I think you have to go
No.
higher than that. I don't think it's a player's thing as much as I think it is just a organizational thing. Like, it goes all the way up
Mm.
to the top to like Chris Drury, it goes all the way up to the ownership as well, and James Nolan. Like, I just think it's embedded so deeply into the New York Rangers, into MSG Entertainment, whatever that company name is. Because they also, it's the same ownership company as the Knicks. Like, they all like,
Mm.
both those teams are owned by the same ownership body. So I think it's like, I think it's a very widespread thing. And I do not think that firing Peter Laviolette will be the turnaround and the change that New York Rangers needed. Because
Ew.
if you've paid any attention to the New York Rangers, like at all, you could have seen that them being bad this season was something that was going to happen and was the course that they were on starting a very long time ago.
Mm.
Like, I don't think their results this season is a shock to anyone who's been watching, for having an eye on that organization in terms of like their roster and where they're at and their coaching, like everything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get mad again because the Anaheim Ducks also announced that they had fired head coach Greg Conan. I said at the start of the season, at the start of the season, when the Ducks made Radko Gudas their captain, and then I said it again when they traded for Jacob Trouba from the New York Rangers. I said, I said that those two players and also their coach and Greg Conan has the identity that does not match the rest of their roster. That is
Mm.
a roster full of very high skilled young players to a certain degree, because like Troy Terry is there. And like
Mm.
Ryan Strome, but like high skilled young players. And you're only going to acquire through the prospects that you already have in your system, through more draft picks. You're only going to acquire, because you're bad, so you're going to
Mm.
continue to get high draft picks. You're
Yeah.
only going to acquire more high talent young players. Like, they have Beckett Seneca in Oshawa right now. He's playing for the Oshawa Generals in the OHL playoffs. They just beat Brantford in their series, and will be playing. Are expected now that they've gotten past Brantford to probably play in the OHL final against the London Knights again. The London Knights are not there yet, but the London Knights are expected to bake. Like that's the
Yeah.
that has been everyone's projected OHL final matchup since the playoffs started. It's a matchup of last year. But you have him sitting in the Duck system. He's going to join the Ducks. You've acquired Cutter Gauthier. You've had Trevor Zegras. You have Leo Carlson. You have whatever highly touted top 5 or 6 or 7 prospect that you're going to get this year in the draft, in which those are the good players in the draft. Sorry, I don't even know who else is in the Duck system. I should maybe look up their Puckpedia and go through who they're going to acquire as I go on this rant. And like open up Puckpedia and have a look. I'm sorry. I'm going to get mad about this because I never understood
because it didn't
hiring Greg Cronin. They have 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9 draft picks this year.
Oh, holy shit.
At the draft. Sorry, you have Olin Zellweger. You have Pavel Minton Yukov. You have like Jackson Lacombe, who's had a breakout year in terms of being like, hey, look at me, I'm really good and I'm also young. You have Mason McTavish. You have Lucas Dostal in net for you, who's hugely talented.
Yeah.
You have Sam Colangelo in your system. You have, oh my God, who else do they? Oh my, I forgot they have Tristan Luneau and Noah Warren. And like, man, like you have all these guys in your system. You have all these highly talented players in your system. And like, you're gonna choose
and for what?
And you're gonna choose to have Greg Cronin as your head coach. I'm sorry, that match never made sense to me.
No.
By having Greg Cronin in your and okay, that's fine. You can have Radko Gudas as your captain. You can have Jacob Trouba there on the ice. Whatever. You need someone to protect those young, talented players that you have in order so they don't get their heads smashed in, because that's what happens to young, talented players on the ice. I'm sorry, people are going to hate me for stating the obvious, but it's the truth. It's the fact of the matter in the NHL. I'm sorry. Look at Sidney Crosby's concussion history.
Yeah.
But why are you going to choose to go for a coach that is not there to develop those players that you have that are highly talented, that come in with so much talent and such a high level of skill and are so young? And why was that the coach that Pat Verbeek chose to go for? I understand you wanted to create an identity and you were like, well, we can do this with Radko Gudas being our captain. No. And I'm not going to overly criticize the Radko Gudas captain choice because I'm not in that locker room. I don't know what he does. I don't know if that's the guy that you like, if he's actually like an incredible leader. He's also just an asshole. I don't know. I should say asshole on the ice because I don't know what he's like as a person. Maybe he's actually really nice, but he's an asshole on the ice. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but why are you, but now he's gone. Now you fire Greg Cronin. Okay, so who do you hire instead? Because it's going to have to be a new coach, because it can't be from like the rotating musical chairs of coaches who get fired. Because let's take a gander at who's available. Let's take a gander of the coaches that are without a job because they've been fired or were fired last year and not hired anywhere else, because that's what the NHL is this rotating pool of the same coaches. And I'm so glad at least finally the NHL has lost Mike Babcock's number, but I'm sick of people suggesting Joel Quenneville for every team that fires a head coach, because that's not who you're going to get. But I need you to lose his number too. I need you to lose John Tortorella's number. I know I've spoken about John Tortorella before and being like, well, look at all the quotes he gets. No, lose his number. I'm sorry. Just start losing people's numbers. I'm sorry. Just because a guy has coached in the NHL for 25 years does not, but he's been fired everywhere he's gone, does not mean that, hey, you should hire him next. I think you should hire somewhere new.
Hire me.
I know David Carl is going to get wined and dined harder than the Stanley Cup is this season. I know people are looking for him to come from Denver, from the University of Denver, and to coach somewhere in the NHL. I know every team is going to want him, and maybe a team will get him, or maybe he'll stay in Denver. But I think you need to be starting to look at newer names. I'm sorry. That's just point of the matter.
No, because like if you don't look for new people, then
You're gonna
you're
get the
gonna
same.
run out.
You're gonna get the same stagnant ideas.
Yeah, and then you're gonna end up having to be like, hey, see, I know we fired you, but there's actually no other options. Will you come back? And it's like, no, find someone new.
Yeah. Yeah.
New
Oh, yeah.
ideas equals new, exciting, bigger and better things.
Especially, like, I think the Ducks more so than the Rangers, because the Rangers are old. Sorry. And more so than Seattle, who we're going to talk about in a bit. But I think Anaheim more so should be trying to get that new young coach who's going to
Yeah,
like take on coaching your young, exciting
like
players.
connect with the new, like the young
Because
players.
you have so many of them who
Mm.
are going to be coming into the fray and are going to be coming up through the NHL or starting to want to make a name for themselves. Like, I'm sorry, like, I'm like, I don't know, Mason McTavish is 22 and people like forget he exists. I'm like, no, but he's like really good. Like, I don't know. I watched Mason McTavish at World Juniors. He was really good. I remember how good he was. I remember him at World. I remember World Juniors Mason McTavish. Where has World Juniors Mason McTavish gone? Why has he disappeared? Like, not even in terms of skill, because that skill is still there. But like, I'm sorry, I saw maybe one goal celebration from him this year that like matched the energy that he had at World
Mm.
Juniors. Where are you? You're taking away the like. I'm sorry,
The
because
children have no whimsy.
I want to root for Anaheim so bad because of how many young, exciting players they have. But like having Greg Conan behind the bench for that did not work. And I need you to hire someone who is going to see the fact that you have all these young, exciting players and like lean into that.
Mm.
Lean into that identity because that identity is way more fun to watch than whatever like Radko Gudas and Mr. Elbows Truba is going to produce. Okay? Okay? That's my rant. That's my rant. All I want to say is I was right. Greg Cronin was not the right coach for the job. Pat Verbeek, you could have saved yourself a world of just disappointing seasons
Yeah.
by not hiring him and hiring him someone else. Maybe they wouldn't have been as good. Like they wouldn't have been like playoff worthy. Maybe, I don't know, who knows? But like they'd have been better than they were
Yeah.
because the talent is all there. You have the talent.
Mm.
Now, the third coach who got fired. The Seattle Kraken fired Dan Bylsma after one season behind the bench for the Kraken. It is their second coach in 2 years. Dave Haxtell was fired last season. We talked about Dave Haxtell getting fired. We mourned the loss of a sexy head coach. I remember
Indeed,
that.
we did.
We mourned the loss of a sexy head coach. Now the news is that it is just Dan Bylsma going that Jessica Campbell is being retained by the Seattle Kraken.
Yay.
She has not been fired. I have
Jessica
thoughts on this as
Campbell, my gut.
I have thoughts on this as well. One of them being that like Dan Bylsma, like you can't blame this Seattle Kraken season on Dan Bylsma. You have to blame it on the fact that the roster kind of sucks. Like, sorry, that's the truth. This is a team who notably sold quite a fair bit at the deadline.
Mm.
And Ron Francis thinking this is the fault of Dan Bylsma is a mistake. Well, I don't even know if this is Ron Francis's decision because it also was announced today that sorry, Anthony Beauvillier just scored.
Oh, sexy man, sexy girl.
This is so unfortunate for the Montreal Canadiens. Anyways, power of
What a
friendship.
shame.
This is good for my bracket. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Indeed.
But yeah, Seattle, like sorry. It also was announced today that Ron Francis is getting promoted to team president, and um, assistant GM Jason Botterill is taking over as GM. He formerly, most notably, was the GM in for the Buffalo Sabres between 2017 and 2020, when there was the whole thing where it was like most of the big thing with Jack Eichel's back. Sorry, my nose is really itchy for some reason, and I don't know why. I don't know. I feel like there's something in my room from like one of my bins that I've unpacked that has like a really strong fragrance. And I think that's what it is. Uh, yeah. But yeah. I don't love this because okay, so yes, you're holding on to some coaches in terms of like your assistant coaches or whatever, the same, or like at least Jessica Campbell is staying on. But this is still like in 2 years, like because when Hackstall got fired, it also like it totally cleared his staff. Like the whole staff got fired too. So then Billsman comes in, hires a new staff, whatever. Then Billsman gets fired. And I know like Jessica Campbell is staying on, but I don't know what it means for like the rest of the coaching staff in terms of in Seattle. Like I haven't seen that news. I just heard that she is staying on. But like that's so much turnover for a team.
Yeah, it's like you can't expect to bring in an entire new team, and then like you can't expect for everything to be like sunshine and rainbows, because spoiler alert, people need time to adjust. Things need time to get figured out, find out what works best, and just like settle. Like you can't expect a big miracle after a year when you're the Seattle Kraken. That's just not gonna happen. It's unrealistic, but
yeah. I just like I feel like also as well as like I think you have to like take a look in the mirror and realize, hey, our roster just sucks.
like maybe
Stuff
find the
happens.
problem.
And allow the coach that you have hired to build in with that roster as you rebuild not even rebuild, just build your team. I'm sorry, the Seattle Kraken are still relatively young for an expansion. Like they're still actually quite young for for a team in general. And not everyone is going to have the success the Vegas Golden Knights did.
Nope.
Coming out of like being a team and like being a team joining the league in expansion. Like that's not they're the exception to the rule. I'm sorry. Most expansion teams are bad for like notably bad in terms of like the 74-75 Washington Capitals were notably terrible. Like the worst team ever.
Yeah.
The Ottawa Senators, notably bad in the first few years of their expansion. Like you're going to be bad and you have to accept that you're going to be bad. So that in order to you have a coach that's willing to stick it out through the bad, but is also willing to develop this wave of players that you're bringing into the league. Like Capitals, like Seattle, what I think right now, like everything can change obviously with the lottery, so we don't know where they're picking. But like they have quite a few picks this year. And they have 2 in the second round. You know, you need a goalie. Okay, if you have like a mid-second round pick, you pick Jack a big pick out of Brampton Steelheads. That's World Junior goalie for Team Canada. Played 1 game. Played really well. I think he only allowed like 1 goal. But like you haven't played really great. Has played really great in Brampton for the Steelheads. Okay. And also it's like if you're picking high or at least in the top 8 or 10 in the draft, like you're gonna get a good prospect there. Things like that. And so it's like you have to just wait. Patience. Like you only like you so like to give an idea on like how new and how young the Seattle Kraken are. I don't want to say young in terms of because they notably had Mark Giordano in the expansion draft. Mark Giordano was very notably the first like captain of the Seattle Kraken. Old man Mark Giordano.
Yeah. Those people.
But like notably in terms of just like a newer franchise with like you don't have a really deep system of prospects built up. You know, you're new. That's fine. You haven't had the ability to sign a lot of those big free agents. So you like to give Shane Wright was drafted 4th overall in 2022. That's what year is it? 2025? 3 years ago. That whole like stare down, like Habs drafting Slavkovsky instead, and that whole like big stare down by Shane Wright, like to the Habs table at the draft in Montreal. Yeah. That was 3 years ago. To give you an idea of how little time is. Sorry, 3 years ago. You've gone through 3 coaches in the past like 3 years. Do you know how insane that is? Stop firing your coaches. Stop it. Stop doing that.
It's not gonna solve your problems.
You're not. I thought Dan Bilsma did a great job with the shitty roster he was given. Personally, that's my opinion. I don't know if you have anything else to add.
No, I think you've ranted pretty well.
I'm sorry. I just have opinions on coaches getting fired because I was like, look, I was telling some people, I was like, I will have a rant on the podcast on Monday about the coaches that got fired because like I have opinions and I think they're very strong and also correct.
But because you are never wrong.
There's a lot of teams that have been doing a lot of locker cleanouts or exit interviews this week. None of them really, but they're not the Leafs. So like, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of news. I feel like once like Team Canada starts announcing more guys to go to Worlds, I feel like I could spend probably an episode going over the roster alone. It's a Kyle Dubas constructed roster. If there's anything I love analyzing, is Kyle Dubas constructed rosters. Oh man, Michael Bunting, I hope you enjoy your trip to Sweden. Pack your bags. But yeah, also as well, we discussed a little bit earlier, but yes, the Marlies clinched the Calder Cup playoffs and will be facing against the Cleveland Monsters in the first round. So yeah, the winner will go on to play Laval in the North Division. I am so glad that the AHL does a bracket, or at least has a bracket graphic, and that's one that I've seen like 7 times, because I recommend looking at it. Because why are the playoffs like that?
It's so crazy.
Who decided this was okay? Don't even ask me what's going on in like the Pacific Division where like Colorado and like there's like re-rankings after the first round.
God and, like, forbid
the top seeded team gets a bye. I'm sorry. It's crazy. It's because like those divisions are so uneven, like in terms of like how many teams are in each one. It's really stupid. But yeah, the HL playoffs I think start this week, like this coming weekend. Or maybe not, or even earlier this week. Because I do know the Marlies play their first home game on the 26th. So
that's Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh God, Saturday's the 26th. Time flies.
Yeah. But I think that's all the news we have to today.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else really. I mean, I feel like we've missed news, but also it's like I don't think we have. I don't know.
No, I feel like we're good.
Yeah.
Sorry, my neighbors are being noisy.
Oh, you sound fine. But I think with that being said, we'll end this episode here. We will be back on Thursday to discuss where I don't have my calendar in front of me.
No.
I like have to like rearrange the stuff on my walls and stuff to like put my calendar like right in front of my desk again, and some things. Like, I don't know if you can see what's going on behind me. It's like I have to refigure stuff out. I have like posters I want to put up still that were in my old room in my apartment, and like I have to try and figure some things out, which is a this week thing.
Yeah.
I still have like a bag of shoes in my room that I need to figure out. Like, I'm sorry, like I hate moving, and this is why. It's like I'm like basically unpacked. Like my clothes are in like drawers and in the closet and everything, but like I still have stuff like in bins. Like I still have to go through my bookshelf here because I'd accumulated enough books at school that like they won't fit on this bookshelf. So I have to like go through and I have to like decide which books I want to keep here, like in my room, and which books I want to like go somewhere else, but I still want to hold on to them. 'Cause I don't know, like I have like my entire Percy Jackson collection.
That's going nowhere.
But like, you know what I mean? But do you know how much room those takes up on a shelf? Like that's basically my.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I have bought every single Rick Riordan book. Do you know how much room that takes up on a bookshelf? Stop writing books, Rick. I'm running out of space, man. I can't hold on to all of these forever, but I want to because I'm like, I want to give those to my kid one day or something.
Yeah.
Like my kid also has to read like my original paperback, my original cover paperback Percy Jackson's.
Yeah. It's like my child will be getting my original cover Hunger Games books, whether they want them or not. And they will be reading them, even though the pages are falling out.
Yeah. I got those two in here. What else do I got? I got my original British cover Harry Potters that were all bought secondhand. I've got like my original cover, like Unwanted series books in here. Did you ever read Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children?
No.
This one?
No.
I have all of those original covers in here.
Mm.
I have like I have a bunch of like Sisters Grimm's.
Yeah. I think
like, I don't know if you read like the name of this book is Secret.
I don't think I read that one. I do, however, have the If We Were Villains original cover.
Oh.
I have my If We Were Villains collection.
Did you ever read what else do I have in here? I have School for Good. Oh, The Mysterious Benedict Society. Did you ever read that?
No. I just read a lot of like deeply traumatizing Jacqueline Wilson books.
Those are already at my chalet. My sister Jackie.
Oh, Jodie, my sister
Jodie,
Jodie.
Miss Jodie.
That one. I have 2 copies of that still, aged 21.
I remember reading that book being like 11 and getting to the end of it and being like, what the fuck?
Literally, it's like I'd go into my primary school library aged like 8 and I'd sit there.
Hold on, wait. I want to know if my sister Jodie, like, if it's because I feel I don't like my sister Jodie. Yeah, no, but I just want to see in the Wikipedia if it like says the ending. Oh, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Okay. So if you have never read My Sister Jodie by Jacqueline Wilson,
Why?
I'm not gonna spoil, and you want the ending spoiled for you. I also feel like I cannot say the ending on a podcast.
No. Which says a lot.
Go read the Wikipedia page of that book. It has a full synopsis of like the full book, and it has the full plot laid out. Go read it on Wikipedia. And then remember that Mar read this at 8. I read this at 11. And our parents didn't make a big deal about it.
No, it's the way that my parents would like actively buy me.
Oh, my mom bought me my copy too, like multiple.
It's like I'd tell her what they were about. Oh, there's a spider on my wall. I'd tell her what they were about, and she'd be like, "Oh, okay, we'll get that." And I'm like, "Did you read Cookie?"
No, which one? I read Rosie. What, I can't remember the title of that one. It was like the one with like the mom. Oh my, and like the mom and she like was escaping like an abusive like partner.
Is that when they went to the seaside?
Yes.
Yes. That was that.
It's like what I discovered like ice lolly is. I'm sorry. I am too Canadian. It's a popsicle. Okay?
Wait, oh my god, did
Sorry.
you read Candy Floss?
Oh, I think I did. I didn't own a copy of it, but I think I took it out from the library on my
That
mom's library card.
that was a good one.
But also, like, it's like right up there with like the Dear Canada books that I read. That I think I thought I had a copy on my bookshelf. I don't know if anyone. I feel like Dear Canada is very niche to like Canadians. There was also Dear America, but the Dear Canada ones were way more popular because they were scholastics. But Dear Canada, it was like diaries of like preteen girls, like tween girls living through like major historical events in Canada. So there was like one like Halifax explosion or like the polio epidemic. And it was like all
That's
these,
wild.
oh yeah, like World War One, residential
That's like
schools, like
how we have
very
like
traumatic, but they're packaged into like these very traumatic, like major historical events in Canadian history, but they're like packaged into like diaries of like a 12-year-old girl.
Oh no, I had them. They were the My Story series, and it's like there was one about like the Titanic and Pompeii, and like a Victorian girl working in a mill, the Tudors.
Oh, ours weren't like,
Wall.
did yours have like a ribbon paper, like a ribbon, not paper, a ribbon, like bookmark in them?
Uh, no,
Because
my mum
ours
was
did.
little
I
paperbacks.
thought I had one on this bookshelf, but I don't, and I'm like kind of pissed off about it because I know a, I know I owned, um, I know I owned like like a Dear Canada one that was like about like the loyalists, like the British loyalists, like escaped to like Canada for like US, and then I had a Dear American one that was like a lighthouse girl who lived like, but like I don't have them here. They might be on a different bookshelf somewhere else. I'm not gonna get them, but like yeah, they're like hardcover and they had like a little ribbon like bookmark in them, like very similar to like my like Boystrom notebooks in terms of like size. I think they were slightly
Yeah.
smaller, but like had the ribbon bookmark and
Mm.
everything. But yeah, those are the books that I oh I was like 12 when I read Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Oh god.
And like around the same age when I read Perks of Being a Wallflower for the first time.
Oh. Oh, Emma. Oh my god. Did you ever read The Longest Whale Song, Jacqueline Wilson? It was
I
about
gotta
a girl whose mum, I think she goes into a coma.
Oh my
And
god, I did read that
she like
one.
plays with the
Because I
whale
remember the
music.
cover.
Yeah. That one was like deeply traumatizing.
Sorry, I love the Goodreads like comes up in the little blurb, a tender and gentle story that will captivate readers of 8 plus.
It's like, yeah, okay.
I
Okay.
don't think 8-year-olds should be reading this. Sorry. Sorry. We're getting so off topic at the end of we should end this episode, but we got distracted. I really want to know, like, if like leave a reply on the tweet, or like you could like put comments in on Spotify, or like email the show or DM the show account or something. I'm like, I need to know if people
Tell us
like
your traumatizing childhood books.
what was the most traumatizing book you read, not first for school, because like I read some pretty bad stuff in school in terms of like like I read The Outsiders in grade
Yeah.
7. Like we've all been there.
Oh god, reading The Outside. You've just
I read
unlocked memory.
Sketches from by Eric Carle, for those who are very Canadian who know like Sketch It. It's like a novel. Like like Very Hungry Caterpillar,
Mm.
the picture book,
Yeah.
or like Brown Bear, Brown Bear. The same author then also wrote like novels for teenagers.
Oh.
I read
Oh.
Sketches. It was about homeless teens in Toronto at 8. I was reading it at like 13. Um,
Yay.
so, but yeah, if you like, I don't know if you, but like I had to read it for school. But if you read a book like willingly and you were way too young to have read it, tell
Please.
us about it. Tell us about it. This is becoming a book podcast, but I just am very curious because
We
it's like
both read.
Mara and I both read My Sister Jodie, and I want to know if anybody else had like read that book.
And like, how did it impact
At
you?
what age did you also read that book? Like, did you read it at like third? I'm like arguing 13 maybe is a little bit even like, but like, did you read it at like age like 14 and you were like, okay, like this isn't terrible? Or did you, like us, read it when you were like still in elementary school and should not have been
Like,
reading
I
it?
fully sat there in my like at my grandma's kitchen table with My Sister Jodie open. I finished it and went, I want to colour in the pictures now. So I have a copy where I've coloured it. I've coloured it in alongside the wildly, wildly traumatizing books. And I think that did actually shape me. And
Yeah.
yeah,
With that being said, we'll end this episode here. On that note,
this is why
again,
you don't record this.
again, people have probably have gone out to the My Sister Jodie like Wikipedia page and are reading the synopsis as they continue to listen to this
And being
episode
like,
and are
this
going,
is a
"Are these
lot.
two okay?"
Nope.
No, we're Leaf fans. What do you think?
The My Sister Jodie to Leafs fan pipeline.
It is real. It is true. It exists. To be honest, I was probably a Leafs fan before I read My Sister Jodie, but yeah, pipeline is real. It exists. That being said, thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back on Thursday
Yeah, we
with
will.
another episode, discussing games two, not even games three, games two. And probably previewing game three of Battle of Ontario, along with other playoff games that are going on. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for listening. You can find the show wherever you get your podcasts, and also follow the show on Twitter so you never miss another episode at From the Fourth Line. That's fourth with the number 4TH. We are a podcast presented by Offside News. You can follow Offside News on all social platforms at Offside News Co. Also, you can follow and read all of the playoff coverage that's going on. There's so much. I am covering the Ottawa Senators this playoffs, continuing my coverage of the Ottawa Senators, I should say. And you can read all of that and more over at offsidenewsco.com. If you really miss the two of us between episodes because we're hilarious and you want to see us talk about the Leafs more or talk about hockey things in general more, you can follow us over on Twitter at 6Leafs for Marcie, at Pearby1 for myself. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back on Thursday. And, of course, go Leafs, go!